Hello, Active Sage here on the Sage channel, and I am here today to show you Sage Tower 1. It was actually originally supposed to be sort of a, well, medieval engineer's version of my Sage station that I often put in all my maps. I figured it'd be something small, I'd put it in all those, but unfortunately, well, very quickly I decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and make a big tower vaguely based off of something I had built in the past, actually in Minecraft, eons ago. So I went ahead and built this monstrosity up into the heavens. So here it is, Sage Tower 1. It's big. Ages and ages and ages ago in Minecraft, back when I used to play that just for the heck of it, I had actually gone ahead and in a survival world built something similar to this from bedrock all the way up to the world height. So I figured, you know what, in creative mode in this, and that because you can have so much more detail in this game, let's go ahead and build that structure again, just better. So that's what I've gone ahead and done. It's not going to bedrock because the game is, as you can see, a bit sluggish and slow, and that would have taken a lot longer. But I figured I can show you guys this, and this will not be copied and pasted into all my worlds because of course the lag it brings with it, but I can go ahead and show you it. So it started out with this lovely little base here with these big pieces sort of sticking up, almost like something you would see in Mordor or something of that sort, but after that it carries on to the inside, and inside has all these large arches here, and these are nice sharp arches. If you look at the top, they got this very sharp little edge to them, which I like a lot. The way I did that is pretty simple and straightforward. I just took this block here, placed one, rotated it around, and placed it inside itself, and that makes that awesome little thing there. Also, the pillars on a lot of this stuff are not standard. So these here, I think, are standard pillars here. They're basically just this piece here placed and then rotated around and placed as such like that again. But then we have the edges here usually bumping out. These seem to be missing them. But right here you can see we have the edges bumping out, and that goes all the way up to the very top, where I've bumped out all the edges to make this window section actually pop out a little bit more. And I could have sworn I actually had them around all the edges down here as well, but they seem to have vanished on me. Or, yeah, they seem to have vanished on me. A bit strange that. Anyway, let's go ahead and actually head inside and start making our way up. So once we land and head up the nice stairs into the room, you'll see that it has a few torches scattered about, and this huge stairwell in the center here, which instead of it just being a 2x2 stairwell, I've gone ahead and made it a 3x3 stairwell, using a big center shaft here, which theoretically we could eventually go ahead and put an elevator in. But let's go ahead and start heading up, and as I head up, you'll notice that we have these big arches that I've been talking about, the windows as I called them, and then above them, once I get up to a higher point, here we go, you can see we have a second little layer of tiny arches just to sort of break it up. Now, as we go up, we'll enter onto the first floor here, and you'll actually notice that it's the same exact as the first floor, except for with wooden flooring and a little cutaway here, obviously, where the stair came through and some railing. Please note, there is no railing right here in the center, so you could go ahead and take a terrible tumble all the way down. Let's carry on to the next floor, and that's where things will start changing, actually. Only a little bit, though, I should add, because every floor above this one has the same design, basically. And here we go, this one, and you see there's no second set of little windows at the top. Now, this floor and up are all like this, except for there is actually those little windows. They're still up there, I'll show you in a second. But the idea is these are all big community areas where you could go ahead and put bookshelves and chairs and stuff and all that here to work. So this tower would house hundreds of people probably. So you'd work on this sort of floor here with its extremely high ceilings, and you'd sleep on the floor above it, which, if I can actually go ahead and get up there, the stairs can be a bit finicky if you try to sprint up them, and a bit terrifying if you actually think of it, the idea that you could just fall off. But you can see we come up here, and those tiny windows are still here, except for we have a dividing floor in here now, and this is where you would sleep. This is where the people who were working on the floor below would actually sleep right here, probably. Or you could go ahead and flip it around the other way if you like, where you sleep here and work just this tiny flight of stairs up here. That might be actually more advisable, so you don't have to take the flight of stairs all the way down to the next floor down there every time you want to get to work, because that could be a bit tiring. Right now, though, I don't have any dividing stuff in here, but you could theoretically go ahead and put up some nice dividing walls to sort of cordon this area off and actually have proper little bedrooms for the people who would be sleeping up here. You could easily enough have, let's say, a singular door like that, followed by a few walls to just cut that off, and voila, we have already two little rooms put together just like that. So this is the sort of thing that you would see stuck in here. I didn't furnish all this because I actually built this tower modularly, just the big huge section heading up, so it would be one of these tiny little living areas with the large working area below it. I just copy and pasted that on top of itself until we got up to the height I wanted. Anyway, there we go. And I didn't want to be bogging down the system by putting in, oh, let's say beds or whatever would be stuck in here. Maybe not like the one we just put in. Maybe, well, it's very tight in here no matter what. No matter what, it's very tight. So maybe having your bed like that is the best option. I don't know. I guess that would work. We can still theoretically squeeze in and out here, I think. Yeah, so that would probably be how you would have these set up. And then maybe go ahead and toss yourself a little workbench in right here to go ahead and have a nice view while you're working. Yeah, it's actually a great view. Holy crap, it's a nice view. It'd be nice once these worlds are endless, but of course we'll still have a view range. Anyway, let's go ahead and keep heading up. Remember, every floor from here on out is just the same exact thing of a really, really tall work area ceiling, followed by that tiny little living area floor. Okay, I've got to be getting close to the top now. I've been going for about, 3 minutes or so, and to think, I actually wanted to build this place about twice the height it currently is, but unfortunately I couldn't do that because the world currently has a height limit to it. So you can build above that, but your character will hit an invisible wall, and sometimes if you build above that, everything that's been built outside of it will sort of delete itself, including whatever is actually contained, well, down below it will be deleted as well. So slightly unfortunate, and I could have sworn, oh, there we go. So, oh, thank God, we're almost there. You can actually look up and see some of the building outcropping from here. Let's go ahead and get up there. We're almost there finally. So you can see this tower alone, just the tower section, not even the top main living area, would be able to house a huge amount of people. How they would be fed, how they would use the restroom, I don't know. Not quite sure about that yet. Maybe they just go out a window. Dear God, pity anybody below if there's a wind blowing it back towards the tower. Anyway, this is up into the main living area, and you can see right away it's symmetrical, as many things I build are. There'll be some variations up on the upper floors, but I'll go ahead and show you around here, and we'll actually run up one of these stairwells, and this is sort of like where, well, if we were to have monks here, this is where they would mainly work. They would sit here scribing and studying, and ideally I would have tons of bookshelves in here as well. And so this is basically their living area then. And of course we can go out here on these little balconies. I have some fires. You'll notice that these are not lighting up. That's because I actually found out there's a maximum number of particle effects that can be generated from these torches, and I hit that. So you'll be seeing some glitches on that sooner rather than later, probably. But yeah, you got some nice areas here. A lot of these big brazier, or not brazier things, what do they actually call them? Fire buckets. Okay, I'm going to call them brazier things. That might not even be wrong. Who knows? But I got a bunch of those. Sort of the idea of it being that they would provide some heat, especially if you walked out here. Because you can imagine being so high up, you would very likely be experiencing some cold temperatures being up here. Anyway, let's go ahead and move back down. By the way, looking up, you'll see that we have some arches actually arching up here. And then there's actually a walkway around there. I'll get up there in 1 second. Let's run back down here, and I don't think I have a passageway here. No, not on this floor. More torches and stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to, these will actually give off light sometime in the future, and then I'll have to retweak them all to figure out how many of them I would actually need to light everything up. And by the way, as I said, these are all symmetrical pretty much. There's some variation between how the chairs are all set up. And I actually found that sometimes you can place a chair like this, or it goes under the table, which looks pretty cool, but after you reload the map, it deletes that chair that was stuck under there. I also found if you just delete one of these chairs, whoop, you can see that piece pop free, and now the whole thing is moving, and those are all connected. I could delete that, and there we go, now they're separated. So some trouble one could find if you're building these and you realize you placed a chair in the wrong spot, delete it, and find out that your whole set of everything has now popped free and is now going all over the place. Slightly unfortunate that. Get down there. I just feel like pushing you down there. Shoo. Okay, now I've blocked the stairwell. Anyway, let's go ahead and head up to the next floor. I don't know why I did that. If I was going to fly, I should have gone all the way up, not just a little hip hop. Just wanted to give the full scale of things by actually going up these bloody, horrific stairs. As we come up, you'll see that we had those sort of slanted pieces down here to make this almost triangular design here where we actually have the square wall. And then we come up to some arches up here, a flat area which I kind of wish I could fill out. As you can see, I have some more of these pieces right here that I've gone ahead and actually rotated onto their sides and stuck right there. So it actually gives it a little bit of a lip. I originally thought about having on the base of all of these other arches that I have coming down, but it's looked a bit silly just to have one floating there like that. Kind of looks cool, but at the same time, once you get them all in there, you just end up with a strange square there, and it feels like it needs to set something in there. Maybe if I had chandeliers, I could hang them from that in the future once I put those in. You can also see that we have more of those little pieces heading across there to sort of make braces, and we do have an open gap there that sort of felt all right. And you can again see the top upper area along there, which I'm heading up to right now. But to access that, you actually have to go all the way up to the next sector, the next floor, really. And this area here is, I believe, the Cathedral. Yes, this is the church area. So down below is the monks. Here's sort of the church-esque area. But before we go up there, we're going to head down these little paths because, as you can see, compared to the floor below us, the square area here is a bit smaller. And then we also have, instead of just a triangular piece blocking off these doorways, we actually have a way to head down there. And if we were to head down here, you can see I have another brazier thing or whatever you want to call it to give heat to whatever guards or people might be sitting at these windows. And then if we carry on out here, it brings us to that balcony area we were looking at from down below. And it also gives you another view of those stairs. So you can see we actually had that big stairwell with a plateau and some balconies to work and stuff, and then another stairwell and a plateau, which I kind of like that tier design to things, that it's very nice. And then up here, if we actually carry on, you can see we have our torches sticking out of the wall, which theoretically shouldn't cause any trouble because that's still burning. I guess it wouldn't work quite as well. They're going to give us torches in the future. I think that will just naturally stick out of a wall, but for now, I kind of like these, and I actually really do like the idea of having these stick out of a wall to give us some light. Carrying on all the way down here though, just a little barrel, and then we sort of have one of the sleeping areas for, I believe this is for the clergymen, or for the actual clergymen that will be working above. So this is sort of where the people that run the church, the priests or whatnot, or higher ordained monks, what have you, I guess it would just be the priests, or the clergymen, would sleep down here, and they have a nice little work desk and some random stuff around here. These are actually all those change the color of your clothes things that I've just used as random boxes all over this place, and then some barrels just as set decoration. So we can head around here and head back up there, but first I'd like to point out that this little pillar right here, I believe, is actually once again this piece here. It's one of those. I use them all over the place. And currently there's a glitch with those that make them extremely unstructurally sound. So, well, this place obviously is built with structural integrity off, but some of this up here theoretically could work on its own, I think. But the problem is if it was down on the ground, that is. But of course, these pieces currently make it impossible for me to even check that really. If I was to go ahead and press in, it's not even working right now. Oh wait, no, it is. Just give it a second. It's loading it up, I think. Yep, there it goes. So yeah, you can see a lot just seems to go red just because those are there, and also because of the random predicament we are of being so high in the sky and such an impossible structure. Also, I've used those pieces again up here. I believe I just said that, didn't I? Anyway, I use them to edge around a whole lot of stuff to sort of make it nicer looking, which sort of leads it up instead of it just stopping so abruptly. Now you get this nice stone bit there. Anyway, let's head in here. Same sort of thing we had before, and then we're actually going to head back up the stairs here into the big second floor room we were in earlier, which is, of course, the church area I was just talking about. And you see we had that little path down there where we just were with the stairs going down. We also have a loop up here with the same sort of thing, just a torch though, and another outlook. That way you get a lot of that stuff from the inside. And then these church areas are all basically the same. Bunches and bunches of chairs to make up the pews. A few boxes, which I was placing in spectator mode and are apparently upside down, but it doesn't matter, they're just for set dressing. And a altar at the front here. No chair or anything. And then at the back, some of these thingy-majiggities. Braziers, I've just googled it. Yeah, that does work. So some of these braziers here sort of provide heat ambiently from behind where the person would be standing, hopefully heating them up a little bit. As being way up here, one would probably be pretty cold with these huge open arches. Unfortunately, there's no glass in the game, or else I would probably fill most of these in, except for maybe a little doorway right here. Also have a few more of these out on the balcony out here, or at least one more. I thought I had one in that corner, I guess not. Anyway, that's it for this floor. These are all pretty much exactly the same. If I was to run over here, you'll see, once again, the same sort of setup, same sort of a little bit of heating and stuff. Unfortunate for the people at the churches, they would be a little bit cold. But, well, I don't expect they'll be spending all day here, just a little bit here, sermon, whatnot, and go back to where they're working, or down below if they're probably monks doing their scripture writings or what have you. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Also, I would like to point out that, again, tons and tons of these were used. to make the square pillars that I have on these rooms here, which is pretty damn cool. We just have a square pillar heading up to the roof, where then again we have those little pieces making the edges along that before doing this tight arch at the very top there, as we did on our first large or very tall arches way down at the base. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on from here and go up to the next floor. And as I head up, I'll just give you guys a little look at these strange things and the way they formed using a corner piece. Actually, that's not a corner piece. Corner piece like this and rotating it onto its side, if I can remember how I did that. There we go, like that, just using these right there. And then, of course, the square piece right there. And then, again, using these just there. Pretty simple stuff, but I like the way it makes such a strange shape, really. Anyway, moving on up to the next floor. This should be, I believe, the, yes, dining hall. And of course, the dining hall is where we start seeing the torches flicker out. So obviously, I put the torches in first. So I had the torches in those big tower sections leading up here, which I copy and pasted together, and then started doing all of this block by block. And as I started putting these torches in, I found they started flickering. So you can see I did the torches at the far wall back there first on each one of these sections, I believe. Yes, and then as I started doing the, yeah, that was the last set I believe I was doing, and they started flickering, and then I started doing the ones along the walls for starting here. And you can see by the time I finished putting them in, well, they stopped flickering, they just stopped showing up at all. So, a bit strange. Anyway, for the actual structure here, you can see all the way at the top, this place is sort of magnificent. It's got really, really damn high ceilings, and I like it a lot. The same sort of structure here with these arches here, using the smaller pieces to make the solid square struts going up and down. And then up there at the very top is actually another railing like we had way down below, where people could walk around. And this floor actually uses those small pieces here to make little edges for the whole wooden walkways going between the different areas here. And I'll show you that in a minute. First, I'm just going to take a quick walk down this hallway here to show you all of the dining table stuff. Obviously, I thought, well, at first I was going to have just one big table like this down the middle, but I thought, you know, let's go full Harry Potter here and have two of them in these big, huge halls. Because one just felt, no, it just felt like such a waste of space. And so that's that for the tables. Pretty simple and straightforward. Not really too much to show on the tables. They're big, huge, awesome tables. Then we do have balconies here like we did on the floors below, where we have a little tiny fire things out the edges. Again, this room might be a bit cold, but we got so many torches, I figured they're going to be producing some ambient heat, so we might be all right there. By the way, I keep bringing up the cold because I'm so high up now, it actually seems a bit chilly, and the air, you know, to see the lighting, it seems so sharp in places. I've been sort of thinking that maybe one day down the line the devs would implement some sort of cold system that has to do with how many torches you keep near you and stuff. I'm talking years down the line though, literally like a year to 2.5 years down the line, maybe something, and it's just food for thought. Anyway, we come down here and it's another little lookout thing. I like these a lot. When I do a flyby on the outside of the structure again, you'll be seeing a lot of windows from those. I'll point them out. Pretty cool, and again, that's mirrored down here, and you can also see at the top here I've gone ahead and put little arched pieces in. That way it's got a little bit of an arched ceiling. Originally this wasn't all open, by the way. Leading up to that point it was sealed off sort of like this, but I figured, hey, that's a bit of a waste of space, so let's actually go ahead. This is actually a triangular piece. I was wondering why it was just a square. There we go, so it's not, but I figured, what a waste of space. Let's just open up and then have a huge arch there to fit with the other arches we have coming all the way down. And then of course at the corner piece here, because we've opened the basic open space here a little bit more, and we don't have a bunch of stairs going up and down, I've gone ahead and actually just made these walls here just a single piece now with a little bit of carving into them, and set up another brazier right there to heat up the basic area. So let's go ahead, head up to the next floor, shall we? And of course this is, oh dear, I keep getting stuck on it. It's like if you try to go up the very closest edge like that, it's still, no, it's snagging. I guess maybe I'm hitting this here. Oh, also I did go ahead and put in one of these. So this is basically that circular pillar. I put those all the way up and down the entire length of this place in the center section here. That way they match these stairwell pieces. Anyway, heading up here, we get to its ceiling. Very, very simple arch right here. Again, those little pieces I was talking about being supports for the overwalkways. Pretty cool stuff though. And then we get up here and we can go out onto the walkway. We got some torches that would theoretically be heating and lighting this whole area up right here. Pretty cool stuff. And we can go ahead and take a walk around. You can see more of those tiny pillars. I use them a whole lot, just putting them in. Another brazier to heat up whoever be sitting here on watch duty at the corners here once again. And then this area is sort of where theoretically, the cooks would sleep. The cooks and the workmen and whatnot would sleep up here. Those that would be running the kitchen down below, this is where they would spend most of their free time. I actually think I had something more here at one point instead of just a chair for longingly looking out the window. Anyway, we do also have torches above all of this, if you didn't notice, sticking out. It's a little hard to see them now that everything's shut off. And again, more and more boxes and whatnot just to act as set dressing to make it look like this was where food and all that would be stored. Unfortunately, we don't actually have a kitchen. If I was doing this again, I might have actually converted one or two of the large, huge cathedral-esque eating areas into a kitchen and one maybe into a storage area or something of that sort instead of having just tons and tons of eating. Hopefully these guys are actually just mages and they can conjure and summon food maybe down from below where there would be farmlands or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's carry on all around here just to show you it all. Lots and lots of more heating area, more sitting area, more set dressing, more beds, more lights, more places to sit down, rest, write, or just drink once you're no longer working, making sure everyone who would be eating down there would be fed in, well, massive, massive invitations to the peoples of this land. Anyway, at least that's that for this floor, I think. I have one more loop around here I'll just fly over really quickly to show you. Again, more beds. I probably really would need more staff than just the few beds that we have up here. Maybe they would sleep in shifts, but that's a bit silly, so really, they needed a dedicated sleeping area, which I just have not given them, so I'm a bit terrible there, really. But yeah, you can see, tons of stuff to fill in the gaps, and this place would look a lot nicer if the torches were actually producing light or actually had particles on them. Anyway, let's go ahead and find our way back over here. I like these passageways, these walkways, a lot, by the way, just with the stone under them and then the stone on top as well. They really just look like they could actually work. Anyway, let's head up to the very next floor now and get ourselves off this floor. And I believe this is, yes, the main living area for visiting members of royalty or people of importance or whatnot. So this floor here, we're in the main, I like to call it the main ballroom. If you've watched my video where I had the slopes, dim slopes, I talked about the ceiling I was working on when I started realizing star patterns and stuff existed using the slopes. Well, this is what I was working on. This is what I was talking about then. It was this room here, and I sort of like this geometric design that sort of spikes out at you, and it looks very strange, and you can imagine it would have some interesting acoustic values to it. So this is what I like calling the main ballroom. It's a large open area. You can see this floor I actually put the railing all the way around it instead of just at the little corner there. For one, the stairs don't keep going up, and for two, if it's a ballroom, people might be dancing about here, and you probably want to stick a guard right here to catch anybody who comes frolicking this way without really realizing the peril they are in, because that would be, well, quite the fall, frankly. So you definitely want to be careful up here, but I like it. I wish I had a big old golden chandelier hovering there or hanging down over there with maybe some magic crystals. Also on this floor, we do also have some more heating area here at these little corners here where we've actually gone ahead and put a slope into this. I say a slope, a curve cut into the wall here, which I like a lot. And it looks really well, it looks like it would work really well with this fire here, just sort of heating up the whole room, hopefully. I doubt it worked too well, but it is a completely enclosed room compared to most of the others, where you actually have to go through hallways like this to get into anywhere that is actually looking at sky. So there's not any direct windows, is what I'm trying to say. And this is sort of another balcony outlook, except for it's at the corner piece where we usually just have a window, so that's pretty cool. And it's of course got a little bit of heating there. And you can see that I have this sloped piece going all the way down to another slope piece shooting out, which sort of fits the square pattern that goes up from here again. And of course I have the arches above that as well, that way it's not just a sharp edge shooting down from the ceiling piece all the way down. It actually looks like it's separating them. I like it a lot. I'm very happy with this floor. I'm very happy with the whole thing, actually. Anyway, let's go ahead and choose one of these areas to head down. So we come up here and we'll hang a right, actually, and we'll head down this way right here. And each of these different hallways down each of the different ways has 4 different rooms, 4 little guest rooms, where it has a bed, a dresser thing to hold their clothes, a little thing to heat them up, and a table and chair so they can do some work while they're here if they wish, or just write letters or whatnot, and a nice little overlook thing to look down, or out I should say, onto the world. And so that's just pretty much exactly the same on all of these, with little tiny bits in placement change. That's really about all. No symmetry mode, so they're not going to be absolutely exactly the same. Like this one has a bit of a gap here between the wall, but I get the basic gist, the basic point across, and they're pretty nice, and I actually like the fact that they're a little bit different every time, which is pretty cool. And then we come into this room. This is sort of, either this can be used as a sort of common area for the people who are working in there, or theoretically could even be used as whoever sleeps up there in this sort of main chambers. This could actually be their personal office or study area or eatery, or when they eat breakfast or what have you. And they also have their large outlook over here. I thought I had some braziers out here, I guess not. I probably decided against them because they would take up too much space if I put them there. And right here they would eat into the space for this opening. I think, did I put one out here? No, I didn't. You can also see under the stairwells here I have a lot more storage sort of scattered about, as well as another little table here, as if maybe whoever would be working here at this huge table would have maybe I'd like to say guest, but really a workman or henchman or something, or a receptionist, I don't know who would work at the other desk. Heading up here, this sort of switchbacky stairwell thing here, we come across another little desk, some randomness I've stuck up here just to fill in the space, a bench, or a chair I should say, for whatever reason. Maybe just put there just to keep it out of the way. And then we come to their main sleeping area here, where we have, again, another place for this person to eat. Maybe they like to entertain people on their own, away from people, and another desk. There's not too many props right now, and I suspect the devs aren't going to work too much on putting in like a bunch of fancy royalty props. I suspect they'll leave that to the modding community to go ahead and make random props like that, fancy chairs and big bookshelves and all that nonsense. And fancy beds with a big pole sticking up and the bit of draping hanging down from them, or what have you. Anyway, we also have some overlooks out here, which here's the brazier I was probably thinking of, stuck in a corner right here, so whoever is sleeping in this room could go ahead and take their time and just enjoy the views from out here. If we carry on back into the center area, by the way, I did actually at one point go ahead and try to use these sort of to make drapes that I thought would look pretty cool, but unfortunately there's no drapes or anything in the game right now. I am hoping the devs will add more of those and then leave it to the modding community to make really nice, like lavish, fancy, random ones, but at least I hope the devs eventually, once they get around to it, they're pretty busy with more important things, but eventually give us at least some drapery to hang down over things and just decorate the walls. So that's that room. All these are pretty much the same, where they have the 4 simple rooms with the simple setup, and then some variation of a work area, or this one is sort of just more sporadic desks, where it would be used as just a meeting area for a few friends, a brazier to heat the area, some storage down here again, and more random stuff stuck about up here. And then, of course, in here, again, I've moved the bed on this one to be right here. A double bed. Ideally, it would just be a big bed, obviously, but for now, it's just that single one. And then some more braziers to heat this room, as well as more sitting and more outlooking, where, of course, you could be out here looking at your neighbor waving. So maybe some bigger drapes over these doors would be in order as well, which would be kind of cool if you had, like, big red crimson drapes coming all the way down to ground level in these things that you could pull across if you wanted to open it up and let the sunlight in. Oh, also, I should have pointed out that we do have torches up here, sticking out of the ceiling piece here, and then we have our ceiling, which we have this big arch right here, and again, using those smaller pieces to make an edge there, and that actually carries on into this room as well, so that carries right through. And then we have these sort of, like, I don't know, I want to call them domes, but they're more square sort of structures at the top to hold up the ceiling, which I think is pretty cool, and it's really nice to have these high ceilings in here. And then carrying on from there, we have the last 2 sets. We have this one here, again, very same thing at the bottom. I'm just going to fly through them really quickly just to show you what they all look like, because they're all a bit different. So this one just has a little sort of kitchen table, maybe a little table for doing some work there, calculating their monies from a sale or something. And this is where the higher up people, higher guests would sleep. If a king came to visit, this is where you would sleep, or the Ministry of Finance leader, whatnot, some randomness of that sort. That's where they would sleep. Here's a little counter for the family, and then here's maybe a work desk if you want to look down on the ballroom while something is going on, or just look down on an open space while working and you didn't feel like looking at the sky. And then I think, is this the one I already showed? I'm not sure. Not quite sure. I don't think so. So this is just another simple variant of it. I think this is the one that I sort of went, well, if I was to have one personal room that would definitely be mine, this would be it, I think. Just the bed, a few things to keep you warm, and lots of tables to work with. And probably eat breakfast at that one while looking out into the bright, nice day without getting directly blasted in the eyes by the sun. That's the basic idea behind a lot of it. Yeah, I think this was the one I had chosen to be pretty much mine if I was to have a specific one. And it looks like we had a little glitch here, because I'm pretty damn sure there was a desk here which seems to have deleted itself. That seems to happen sometimes. It's a bit odd. Anyway, moving on from here, we can go ahead and make our way to the next upper floors, because we're not done yet. As you can see, this one goes up opposed to the other one right there around the edge that went down. So this is a first sort of break in the bog standard symmetry, where now we have this going all the way up to another level. And you can see this is a bit of a climb just like everything else, because it has to get past the high ceilings of all that. And this one actually leads us straight outside. Luckily we're under a, well, we can pretty quickly get to another overhang if there's a bit of rain, but of course there'd probably be a bit of wind this high up. And now we're actually up on top where we've started the video pretty much. So you can see pretty damn high up. The build world height is right around here. So just about 10 blocks higher than this. I originally had another one of those modular segments building this place up one higher, and that was too much. So I had to remove that. So you can see we have this little overlook here. We've got a walkabout the whole thing here, which we can go along. More of these braziers to keep you warm. A few torches scattered about. It'll be interesting to see how dark all this really is. And I really would actually like it if this dark area, if this whole area right here was a lot darker, because the sunlight's not directly getting to it. It's sort of bouncing off those walls, so maybe that's fine. But let's say you were to go into here, which is one of the barracks, and there's no windows in here. So I'd expect this to be really, really dark, with the exception of this thing casting light across the room and warmth in a sealed off room like this. Two little work desks on either side, and sometimes I have stuck torches in here and here as well. And by the way, each of these bunk setups have 4 beds in them, each one of these barrack rooms. And then if we carry down here, we have variations. So this one's sort of like a sitting and storage area where people would sit, just talk and keep warm. If we were to go ahead and head up here to the next floor, you can see we have like a main dining hall for the people in that barracks. A few chairs seem to be missing. And then we have this little walk-out area here where you could walk out and take a walk all the way around, actually. And it leads to this flat surface area here with our large overpass up above. I'll get to that eventually. So that's pretty cool. This is sort of just another overlook area. Let's go ahead and head back down into the barracks really quick. By the way, I do have that little thing there and some more storage just stuck in the corner on all these pretty much. And let's actually head down this way, past the barracks. And in the center area here, we actually have this little overpass, a corner little segment. I should probably put a torch up there, but not right now. And it leads us into another barracks. And this barracks is laid out exactly the same as the other one, except for this room here. You can see this one has a big table here, as if everyone from other barracks might even come over here and dine and keep warm and talk and feast or whatnot. And then up above is pretty much the same as the previous one, though, where we do have a bog standard table and then some random storage stacked up there. I'm going to carry on to the next one of these because there's 4 of them in total. And carrying along to here, again, same thing, bunks. By the way, these pillars go all the way up to that overpass thing, so they weight would theoretically be coming all the way down to here, and then going into the concrete floor we actually have just below most of this wood. This room is sort of where you would see the wines of probably the whole place stored. Hopefully way up here it would be cold enough. And this is where the winesman, whoever keeps track of all this, would be sitting with his helper here. And so he'd be signing bottles in and out theoretically if we had bunches of bottles, or at least keeping track of the amount of ale stored up here, followed by much the same as before up here. Yeah, much the same as before, almost exactly. And then I believe we have one more of these to show, carrying down this hallway here through another set of barracks into just a sort of almost pub-esque area here where people would eat and drink and just sit about. I actually don't see a brazier here to keep these people warm, but they do have a fair few more torches in here than the other rooms. And if we were to run back up here, once again, same thing. Now we're actually going to go ahead though and head across this big open area here, back through here, past all these pillars I was talking about leading down below, and into this big center room here. Here, I'll give you a better entrance. And into this big center room here with all these winding stairwell sort of things. It kind of reminds me of the Mage Tower in the old World of Warcraft days. I miss those things a little bit. And you can see that these, of course, lead to all the different barracks through here. And what you can do is go ahead and head up the stairwell here, hang a right or a left, keep heading up. Again, those small pillars I've used here to have a sort of support up and down the whole thing. And then we can head across one of those walkways over to sort of a bigger overlook area where you have a bunch of these braziers to keep you somewhat warm, considering you're completely exposed to the elements out here. And you can go ahead and take a look out and over the world. Unfortunately, there's no like control and lean button like in Alien Isolation. I think all games should have something like that, frankly. Not just Space Engineers, not just Medieval Engineers, all games should have something like that, because I really miss the ability to lean in games. Anyway, that's the basic of this area, just a big flat area. I even took time to make sure the wooden slats here, the wooden panels, were actually aligned correctly, because if you look at the base of them, they actually have, right there. You can see they actually have those those big wooden beams going left to right. And I actually wanted to make sure those lined up on most all of this. But for this piece here, I just left them, well, not exactly lined up correctly, just because I like the idea of the straight wood heading across here. And so I've rotated that around for each one of these different paths here where the straight wood heads out, and then you have the wood left to right out here. Pretty cool stuff. And if we were to go ahead and head up to the very top floor here, you can see we have a little bit of sloped stone there, followed by a little tiny gap at the very top. Can't really access that, but then we come up here onto this tower, and we actually have a king's statue at the very top, just sort of cap it off. Pretty cool stuff. I'm really happy with it. Wooden floorboarding here is a bit wibbly wobbly. I should have probably just done it all in one way, but I sort of am swapping directions a few times with it. Not the happiest with that, but whatever, it'll do. We do also have braziers up here. Braziers? I've probably been saying it wrong and people are going to kill me for it, but whatever. And you can see we do have those though to give us some heat up here. Pretty cool stuff. I'm pretty happy with all of this. Let's hop into spectator mode and I'll actually fly out. That way you can actually see what all of this has looked like from the outside. Because I've gone ahead and just explained all of the inside areas because I spent the last 2 days doing pretty much nothing but that. Putting chairs in and props and rotating stuff around and deleting and replacing, and it's been a long time. So yeah, starting up here, you can see where we were just walking around the king statue at the top. Down here, we of course have these overpasses, I was calling it, leading over to the large area here where you'd be exposed to the elements. The upper barracks area here with its walkway that comes out and goes all the way around and actually melts into this wall here, followed by this large plain area here which stores the random different types of rooms, and of course the barracks set up here with their bunk beds and everything, and of course a few chairs scattered about so somebody could sit and work here or write letters to their loved ones back home, which would be right down there at the village or city that would lie below. And then from that we do have this first upper area that we climbed on, which holds the stairwell inside of it, and that carries on down to right here where we had gone out onto that balcony. I said there was that slope there to hold the square expanse that was above it. That was that right there. And then of course on the right and left we have all these rooms here where we actually have the main upper room. This one actually has a bunch of storage in it that isn't really befitting of a guest, but maybe they brought it with them, eh? And then the main work area for them with their nice high ceilings and upper balconies and all of that. By the way, I did actually want to put in a bit of railing here, but it's not letting me put that in there for some reason, so don't quite know what that's about. I should probably have more railing in there. Anyway, from there we do also have these little outcroppings here, or incroppings I guess you could call them, because this is those smaller, more standard guest bedrooms, which I do like the fact that they have their arched little bits of ceiling coming up here that makes the floor for this little balcony up here. Pretty nice stuff, and I'm missing a brazier right there. That's a bit odd. By the way, I have also gone ahead and placed one of those small blocks again right here just to cap that off, because without it looked a bit strange. Oh, by the way, I should note there's a little issue with those where if, let's say, I put this in right there, oh, it didn't do it that time, but if I was doing something like, let's say, putting a floorboard in right here because I want the floor, did they fix it? No, they didn't. You can see it's deleted all of the pillars that were down here around it, even though I was holding Alt when I placed it. That is an issue that cost me about 6 hours or so, because I had originally built this whole top section as a separate piece to cut down on lag as building it, because if you have a big structure and you add a single block to it, it'll lag some more. And then I copied and pasted it here, and when I did that, it counted it as all these little floorboard pieces being replaced, and it destroyed so many of those tiny pillars, it was a nightmare. Anyway, moving on from that little side note, we have that little balcony area, of course, I already pointed that out, and then we come down to those tiny little room corners that I kept talking about, like that one there. That carries on down here. You can see that the top of this whole place is bigger than the base. And I'm not just talking about the base down there, I'm talking about right there. And that's my phone doing the excuse me turbo thing and waking up, even though I haven't said excuse me turbo. Dear phone. I did say it that time, okay, but shush, stop. Anyway, we carry on down from here where the building narrows out a bit. I like doing a lot of stuff like that. In fact, it's not exactly narrowing out until it gets to right here where it really does it. But you can see we have these hallways that we had up here, the slope to cut in, the large balcony area here, which pops out almost as if you could pull this here all the way down or push the balcony all the way up, and it would again make a flat wall, sort of like a cut in, very specific. And then we carry on with a proper cut in. Unfortunately, we do have this big sort of square bump right here where it kind of has a sharp corner and then bumps up. A bit unfortunate, but there's not really any way I could find to fix that. I could theoretically have gone ahead and put these pieces once again in there, like, let's see, this, it's not lining up the way I wanted. No, I have to rotate them like that. No, up, something, French toast. That might have worked if I placed them like this and sort of made it look at least a little bit better, but you do get a bit of Z fighting every now and again, it seems. Maybe it's just anti-aliasing. Maybe I should have gone ahead and done that, but for now, we're just leaving it as such. Anyway, carrying on from there, of course, once again, a arch for a cutout with the balcony area right here. Pretty nice stuff. Again, as if that could just pull up and seal off the whole thing. It's just the feeling I get from it, at least. And those are, of course, matched on the front. I'm not sure I really pointed that out. Once again, it's matched on this side, too. And you can see it's a beautiful sight from a distance, too, because you get all these arches with the light of the sky shining through them. It's a pretty awesome sight to see. I'm very happy with it. If the game didn't start lagging on these mega structures, I would absolutely be building a larger fortress, probably about the size, if that was a corner, it would go to that corner to that corner. So a huge, huge fortress of that scale with just one of these outcroppings right here as just the wall decoration, basically. I'd have like 8 or 9 of them as a big dwarven-esque fortress almost. Anyway, carrying on down from there, I believe were we right here? No, we must have been right here. Yes, we were. Carrying on down below that is, again, some more of these tiny little outlook areas here, where we had the monks that would be working down below that point. And if we carry on, down even farther, actually, I forgot to point out again, tiny little windows for outlooks that we have here. Told you, I have bunches of them. If you ever see them, you can see that they're sort of spread out. We got one there, there. I just like the idea of having those tiny little lookout things. Anyway, if we carry on down more, you can see the monk area actually had, when it had those balconies, there was a bit of a jump between the two of them. And if you would like, you could have jumped between them. It's pretty cool stuff. I like it a lot. And again, doing the same thing with the arch and the lower balcony below it. So I like it a lot. I'm very happy with this fortress. Considering it's taken me a week of pretty much doing nothing but this and update videos, I'm pretty happy with it. If I wasn't, I'd be pretty sad. Anyway, guys, that's that for the majority of this place. It's huge, it's a monster, and by the way, I did say those tiny little pieces went all the way to the top, pretty much. Yeah, as you can see, they come all the way up and merge in here, so they even fit in with the slant here. And you can see we have a bump out again, as we did sort of at the bottom, except for that bumps out to make the monks area start, followed by another bump out here. Anyway, guys, as I was just saying before I interrupted myself, this is probably one of my favorite structures. I'm calling it my home right now. I might go ahead and just take this huge section up here from basically this edge right there up and copy and paste that on its own as sort of like a temporary sage fortress or something of that sort. I don't know. I'm kind of happy with that just as its own thing. It sort of almost doesn't fit the rest, but as for a crown piece, it actually does work reasonably well. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. I've been talking for a long time. If you're still watching, holy crap, thank you a bunch for watching. I hope you found this thing interesting. I spent a lot of time building it. A lot of time and thought building it. So it sort of took a lot of time and thought to explain it. Anyway, guys, I hope this was entertaining. I'll be putting it up on the Steam Workshop within a day or two, hopefully. If you'd like to go ahead and download it and run about, you can. I'm not even going to shoot a single one of those projectiles at it because it's almost guaranteed to crash because it's such a large structure. Any shattering or fracturing just seems to make everything go to pot. Early days, and it's a mega structure. What do you expect? And by the way, just to show you guys that it is indeed at the world height. The world height is, yeah, right here. So I couldn't build any higher than this point right here. It's not even let me build. There we go. So there, that's it right there, actually. Yeah. Literally pretty much dead on. Couldn't build any higher than that. Wow. I thought I had a little bit more space. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thank you a bunch for the 3rd or 4th time. And I shall see you next time. I need a drink. My throat's hurting. That's a big place. I just wish it was twice as tall.